blast into a black hole. A night carrier catapult at 200 miles per hour is frightening, but a night carrier landing is simply terrifying. It all starts in the ready room, that little room on the ship where the flight crew gather to finish their mission briefings, to find out what discrepancies they have with their aircraft, and to pay homage to those frustrated naval aviators that flunked out of flight school, the weather prognosticators. Your weather for tonight's recovery will be smooth seas, a stable deck, a nice visible horizon, and a full moon with a lot of stars. It will be beautiful. Have a great flight, gentlemen. As we walk up to the flight deck and look outside, we realize why those jerks were actually snickering when they left our ready room. They did get one thing right, though. It is dark. Very dark. We pre-flight our aircraft, jump in, and as we're climbing away off the catapult shot, doing our cockpit chores, preparing to go through our mission, we realize that, you know what? We have an 1.5 to 2 hour mission coming up where we will perform various duties. But when we get done with that mission, we will have completed only about 10% of our entire mission. Because the other 90% is coming up with that night carrier landing. Did I mention it was dark? Very dark. That creates a lot of trepidation. So it begins again in the holding pattern over the ship. That little pattern that I know people invented this pattern for the timely and fuel-efficient recovery of aircraft aboard the ship. That boring little pattern where we go around in circles and circles, merely delaying the inevitable. And I contend that next to teenage hormones, that little annoying pattern that delays and maliciously reminds us of the inevitable night carrier landing. Did I mention it was dark? I contend that next to teenage hormones, that little pattern creates more angst in man than anything else. We plunge from holding into the dark abyss. We still can't see the ship. Did I mention it was dark? The ship, that little pitching, rolling, heaving, and yawing piece of steel out there in the ocean that we're going to land on. We still can't see it. I'm over here hyperventilating my fear to oblivion. My navigator is sitting next to me chanting a mantra to some unknown deity who hopefully will listen and not laugh derisively at us. As we plunge from the holding pattern into the black abyss, the only reminder of impending destruction is that rapidly unwinding altimeter. That reminder that, yes, you really are headed for destruction if you don't do something to correct it. So, at the designated altitudes, I ease the nose up. The aircraft starts to slow. Mindful of the airspeed, mindful of my power settings, mindful of everything else, the little voice in my head screams, "Gear, flaps, slats, hook, now!" So, dutifully, I throw all of those out into the wind and I ease the nose up a little bit more. We slow. The altimeter is still unwinding, but like this, or like this. However, uncorrected, we will still crash. But if I can do it just right, it will be a controlled crash, not an uncontrolled crash. Suddenly, my navigator stops chanting. There's an eerie silence in the cockpit. I'm wondering, is everything okay? Suddenly, the ship appears in the windscreen. "Power!" yells the deck observer. I slam the throttles forward, realizing that I actually need to bring them back a little bit because I'm going to start chasing that glide slope. Can you hear the trepidation? And did I mention it was dark? We're still coming down like a bat out of you-know-what. No time to think. Hold that nose attitude. Make sure that the gear touches the deck. Wait for that reassuring tug where the hook catches the wire. And all of a sudden we feel it. Oh, yes, thank you! As the jet starts to slow to a stop, that reassuring tug translates into a violent lurch forward as our bodies slam towards the windscreen. The jet screeches to a halt, and we are violently thrown back in our ejection seats. I ease the throttles back, and once again, a silence envelops the jet, except for the shaking of our knees. We climb out of the jet. My navigator says, "We made it." And I said to that intelligent remark, "Yep." As he walks off across the deck, he says, "See you tomorrow night." And I shout, "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Hours of boredom separated by seconds of sheer, unabated, abject terror on the high seas.